Life has a way of introducing us to challenges we never asked for, moments we didn't prepare for, and seasons we didn't think we could survive. It is in those moments, when the wind is against you, when the walls seem to close in, and when you feel as if you're standing alone, that something begins to happen inside of you. Adversity is not just a disruption of your plans, it is the very soil in which your strength takes root. Strength is not born on the sunny days of ease. It is cultivated in the storms, in the dark valleys, in the places where you feel pressed beyond your limit. Think about it, a seed does not grow in a vacuum. It must be buried in the dirt, surrounded by darkness, and endure the pressure of the soil above it. But in that very pressure, in that very obscurity, the roots start to push downward and the shoot starts to push upward. The same is true for us. When life buries you under bills, responsibilities, betrayals, or disappointments, you are not being destroyed, you are being planted. And what is planted in adversity will produce a harvest of strength that nothing else can give you. The mistake many people make is to interpret adversity as a sign that they are failing or that they are being punished. But I have learned that adversity is often the proof that you are being prepared. You see, comfort has never built capacity. If you are never stretched, you will never know how far you can reach. If you are never tested, you will never know how much you can endure. The weight that feels so heavy today is the same weight that will make you stronger tomorrow. Just like a muscle grows only when it is pushed against resistance, your spirit grows only when it pushes through hardship. Some of the greatest leaders in history emerged from the harshest environments. They didn't become strong in spite of their challenges. They became strong because of them. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet emerged not bitter, but unbreakable, with a vision that transformed a nation. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery, endured unimaginable hardship, but her strength was forged in that furnace, and it made her a liberator for hundreds of others. Even in the scriptures, David did not become a giant killer in the comfort of a palace. He learned courage and skill in the wilderness, facing lions and bears when no one was watching. Adversity forces you to develop qualities you didn't know you had. It will sharpen your focus, because in hard times you can't afford to waste energy on what doesn't matter. It will deepen your resourcefulness, because when options are limited, you learn to create opportunities. And it will toughen your resolve, because when life knocks you down and you choose to get back up, you discover a resilience you never imagined was in you. These are not lessons you can learn from a book or a lecture. They are the kind of lessons life engraves on your soul through experience. But here's something important to understand: adversity in itself does not automatically make you strong. Adversity will expose you, but it is your response to adversity that will determine whether you are broken or built by it. Two people can go through the same hardship. One emerges bitter, the other emerges better. The difference lies in perspective. If you see adversity as an enemy, you will spend your energy resisting the lesson it carries. But if you see it as a teacher, you will allow it to do its work, knowing that it is shaping you for what is ahead. I've often said that a diamond is nothing but a piece of coal that handled pressure well. Coal doesn't become a diamond overnight. It takes heat, pressure, and time. Without those conditions, it remains just coal. Your strength is the same way. Without the heat of challenges, the pressure of deadlines, the weight of responsibility, and the persistence of time, your potential will remain dormant. It is only through those difficult, uncomfortable, stretching seasons that your inner diamond begins to take shape. Adversity also has a way of revealing your true alliances. In good times, everyone wants to walk with you, but in hard times, you discover who is really committed to you and who is only committed to your comfort. This knowledge is part of the strength you gain, because knowing who you can truly depend on is a kind of strength in itself. It shapes your decisions, builds your discernment, and ensures that when you step into greater responsibility, you are surrounded by people who can withstand the journey with you. There's a verse that says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. This is not to condemn weakness, but to remind us that adversity is the measure of our strength. You don't measure a bridge's strength by looking at it on a sunny day. You measure it by what it can withstand when the floodwaters rise. The same is true for you. Adversity is your stress test. It is the moment that proves what you are made of and shows you where you need to grow. Many people pray for strength, but they don't realize that God answers that prayer with situations that require strength. You cannot build courage without facing fear. You cannot develop patience without enduring delay. You cannot cultivate endurance without having to persist through exhaustion. Every quality you admire in others was developed through the kind of challenges you may be avoiding. So, the next time you face a season of struggle, I challenge you to see it differently. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this building in me? Instead of praying for the storm to pass quickly, ask for the wisdom to navigate it well. Because the truth is, the strength you are developing now will be the very thing that carries you into your next season of success. You may not see it yet, but every sleepless night, every tear you've cried, every battle you've fought is adding to your capacity. And one day, you will look back at the things that once threatened to break you, and you will realize they were the very things that built you. You will thank God for the mountains because they taught you how to climb. You will thank Him for the valleys because they taught you how to walk without stumbling. You will thank Him for the storms because they taught you how to stand. Adversity is the birthplace of strength. It is the training ground for greatness. And when you understand this, you stop running from difficulty and start running through it, because you know that every challenge you face is another brick in the fortress of your character. And once that fortress is built, no wind, no storm, no force on earth will be able to tear it down. Character is not something you discover in moments of comfort. It is revealed and refined when the heat is turned up. Pressure has a way of pulling away the mask we present to the world and exposing the truth about who we really are. Anyone can appear patient when nothing is testing their patience. Anyone can appear honest when dishonesty offers no advantage. But the moment pressure comes, when doing the right thing costs you something, when telling the truth could make you lose an opportunity, that is when your true self emerges. Just like gold is refined by fire, character is purified by the heat of life's challenges. Gold in its raw state is mixed with impurities. It is valuable, yes, but not yet at its highest worth. To reach that level, it must go into the furnace where intense heat melts away what doesn't belong. Only then does its true brilliance emerge. People are the same way. We may start with potential talent and even good intentions, but until we pass through seasons of difficulty, our character remains untested and our integrity unproven. Pressure is not comfortable, and it is not meant to be. It presses on your weaknesses and reveals cracks you didn't know were there. It shows you the places where you thought you were strong, but were actually fragile. And that revelation is not a punishment, it is a gift. Because when you see the cracks, you can strengthen them. When you see the areas where your character fails, you can rebuild them. History is filled with people who had talent but lacked character, and because of that, their success collapsed under the weight of their own weaknesses. It is one thing to reach the top, but it is another thing to stay there. Pressure not only gets you ready for the climb, it prepares you to handle the altitude. Without that preparation, the very success you prayed for could become the thing that destroys you. When life applies pressure, you are given a choice to be crushed by it or to be shaped by it. The ones who allow pressure to shape them learn self-control, humility, and endurance. They learn that leadership is not about titles, but about responsibility, that trust is not built in speeches, but in consistent actions over time, and that greatness is not about power, but about the ability to use power wisely. These are qualities that can only be forged in the furnace of pressure. Look at the life of Moses. Raised in a palace, he had privilege, education, and position. But it was 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep in obscurity, that developed the patience, humility, and dependence on God he needed to lead a nation. Without the pressure of that season, he might have relied on his own strength. But the furnace taught him to rely on something greater than himself. Even in modern times, the same principle applies. Athletes become champions not by playing easy matches, but by training under grueling conditions, pushing themselves beyond what is comfortable. Soldiers are not made on parade grounds, but in the intensity of the battlefield. Business leaders who succeed over decades are not the ones who only know how to operate in economic booms, but the ones who learn discipline and innovation during recessions. Pressure creates the discipline that sustains success. One of the most dangerous things in life is to have opportunity without the character to handle it. Because pressure will come whether you are prepared for it or not. When you have not gone through the refining fire, pressure will expose your weaknesses in public when it's too late to fix them in private. But if you submit to the furnace early, if you allow life to build you in the hidden seasons, then when the world is watching, you will stand unshaken. The furnace of pressure is not always dramatic. It often comes in small, daily challenges. The discipline to show up on time, even when no one is keeping track. The decision to do your best work, even when you could cut corners and no one would know. The patience to treat people with respect, even when they treat you poorly. These moments may seem small, but each one is a hammer blow shaping the steel of your character. Pressure also teaches you that your worth is not in your comfort, but in your capacity to endure discomfort for the sake of what matters most. In a world that celebrates quick wins and instant gratification, pressure trains you to value the long game. It teaches you to make decisions not based on immediate relief, but on lasting results. It shapes in you the ability to hold steady when others are panicking, to stay calm when others are losing control, and to persevere when others are giving up. Some people pray for God to remove their pressure, but what they don't realize is that they are asking Him to remove the very process that is making them ready for the future they desire. Pressure is not there to kill you. It is there to make sure that when you arrive at your destiny, you have the strength, wisdom, and integrity to remain there. Without it, success would be fragile, easily broken by the first challenge that comes after the victory. The true test of character is not how you behave when things are easy, but how you respond when they are not. It is easy to keep your word when keeping it costs nothing. It is easy to be generous when you have abundance. But when resources are tight, when circumstances are hard, when it costs you something to maintain your values, that is when your character is proven. And here is the truth. Pressure doesn't just reveal your weaknesses, it also reveals your hidden strengths. You may discover that you are more patient than you thought, more resilient than you imagined, more disciplined than you believed. These qualities were always in you, but they were dormant, waiting for the furnace to awaken them. When you understand this, you stop running from pressure. You stop seeing it as an enemy and start seeing it as a necessary companion on the journey to maturity. You begin to welcome the lessons it brings, knowing that every moment in the furnace is making you more prepared, more solid, more trustworthy, because when the heat dies down and the pressure lifts, you will not be the same. You will walk out like gold refined by fire, purified, strengthened, and shining with a brilliance that can only come from surviving the furnace. And people will look at you and think you were born that way, but you will know the truth. You will know that every ounce of character you carry today was forged, hammered, and refined in the furnace of pressure that you once wished would go away. And that, my friend, is why pressure is not your enemy. It is the master craftsman of your destiny. It is the unseen hand shaping you into someone who can be trusted with influence, responsibility, and success. If you can endure the furnace, you will come out not only stronger, but unshakable. Hard times are the great separator. They draw a clear line between those who only appear committed and those who truly are. When everything is going well, when the rewards are flowing, when the stage is bright and the applause is loud, anyone can show up and play the part. In good seasons, the pretender can look exactly like the contender. Both wear the same smile, both speak the same confident words, both walk with the same swagger. But the moment hardship arrives, the moment sacrifice is required, the moment the cost of staying committed becomes greater than the comfort of walking away, the difference becomes unmistakable. Pretenders are drawn to the appearance of success. Contenders are drawn to the process of it. Pretenders want the fruit without tending the tree. Contenders are willing to water, prune, and protect the tree even when it looks bare and lifeless. The difference is motivation. Pretenders show up for the benefits. Contenders show up for the mission. And it is only when life gets hard that these motivations are revealed. Pressure has a way of stripping away appearances. When the lights go out, the crowd leaves, and the resources grow thin, the pretender loses interest because the performance is over. There is nothing left to feed their ego or to satisfy their desire for recognition. But the contender keeps showing up, not because it is easy or glamorous, but because the goal is worth more than the struggle it takes to reach it. In the scriptures, Gideon started with an army of 32,000 men, but when the test came, most went home. Some left because they were afraid. Others left because they were distracted. At the end, only 300 remained, the true contenders, and with those 300, victory was achieved. Hard times did not weaken the mission, they purified the missions team. The same thing happens in relationships, in business, in ministry, and in life. When resources are plenty, when the plan is unfolding smoothly, you will have many voices cheering you on. But when the unexpected happens, when you hit setbacks and delays, the crowd thins out. This is not something to resent. It is something to value, because you do not want to build your future on the support of people who will disappear at the first sign of trouble. In fact, hard times are not just separators, they are protectors. They protect you from investing too much trust in the wrong people. They protect you from surrounding yourself with those who are more interested in your spotlight than in your substance. And they protect the integrity of your mission by ensuring that only those who truly believe in it remain by your side. It's easy to confuse enthusiasm for commitment. Pretenders can be loud, passionate, and full of energy when things are exciting. They can make big promises and bold declarations, but enthusiasm without endurance is empty. Contenders may not always be the loudest or most visible in the crowd, but when the fight gets tough, you will see them still standing, still working, still believing. Consider the life of Jesus. When he performed miracles and fed multitudes, the crowds followed him eagerly. But when he began speaking about the cost of discipleship, when he said that following him meant carrying a cross, many turned away. In the end, when he was arrested, beaten, and crucified, the crowd was gone. Only a small few remained close, those who were not there for the miracles alone, but for the mission. Hard times also test the contender's inner resolve. They are not exempt from fear or fatigue, but they have something the pretender lacks: the decision to keep going despite both. Contenders understand that hardship is not proof they are failing. It is proof they are in the arena, and only those in the arena have the chance to win the fight. Pretenders stand outside the arena and critique. Contenders are inside the ring, taking hits and giving their all. This separation process is uncomfortable, even painful, because it often involves losing people you thought would be with you forever. But it is necessary because every vision has its weight, and not everyone is meant to carry it with you. If you try to drag pretenders through the process, you will exhaust yourself and slow your own progress. Let hard times do their work and remove them for you. Sometimes the pretender is not another person. It is a version of yourself. It is the self that wants shortcuts, that wants applause without accountability, that wants the prize without the perseverance. Hard times will confront that version of you and ask, are you willing to pay the price? Or are you just pretending to want the prize? And if you answer honestly, the pretender in you will die, making room for the contender in you to rise. The truth is, you cannot fake endurance. You cannot fake faith when everything is on the line. You cannot fake courage when fear is real and present. These qualities are either in you or they are not. And hard times will bring the truth to light. This is why, in the long run, contenders always outlast pretenders. The pretender runs out of energy when there is nothing left to gain. The contender gains energy from the very challenge that makes others quit. If you find yourself in a hard season, don't just look at who is still around you. Look at who you are becoming, because you might discover that the biggest separation happening is inside your own character. You may be shedding habits, mindsets, and weaknesses that could never survive at the next level you are heading to. You may be losing false dependencies and replacing them with real strength. When you come out of a hard time, you may have fewer people, fewer resources, and fewer illusions. But you will also have more clarity, more resilience, and more certainty about who is truly for you and what you are truly made of. You will value the ones who stayed, not for their presence in easy days, but for their loyalty in dark nights. And you will walk into your next chapter with a team and a character that have already been proven under fire. That is why I say hard times are not the enemy. They are the refiner's fire. They burn away the pretenders so the contenders can shine. They strip away the unnecessary so the essential can emerge. And they prepare you for victories you could never win if you were still surrounded by those who were only there for the show. In the end, the separation is a blessing, because when you stand on the other side of your struggle, you will know beyond any doubt that those who are with you are truly with you, and that you yourself are not just someone who wanted the dream, but someone who was willing to fight for it. That is the mark of a true contender. Pain is one of life's most misunderstood gifts. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid it, numb it, or escape it. But the truth is, pain is never wasted when you allow it to teach you. Every struggle you endure, every disappointment you survive, every loss you grieve carries lessons that cannot be learned in any other way. What you call suffering today, you will one day recognize as training. What feels like an ending now is often the preparation for a beginning you cannot yet see. Pain has a strange way of shaping you into the person you were meant to be. It removes illusions, deepens empathy, sharpens focus, and builds resilience. It breaks your pride and replaces it with humility. It forces you to let go of what is comfortable so you can step into what is necessary. Without pain, you might stay in places that no longer serve your purpose. Without pain, you might cling to relationships, jobs, or habits that limit your growth. Pain disrupts your comfort, not to punish you, but to prepare you for a greater capacity. In nature, the oyster produces a pearl only when it is irritated by a grain of sand. That irritation triggers the oyster to release a substance that coats the grain layer by layer until something beautiful is formed. Without the discomfort, there is no pearl. In the same way, the irritations and wounds of life, when responded to with wisdom, become the very process that produces beauty, strength, and wisdom in you. Think about the life of Joseph. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Each painful season seemed like a setback. But in reality, each one was preparation. The betrayal taught him discernment, slavery taught him discipline, the false accusation taught him endurance, the prison taught him humility and faith. By the time he stood before Pharaoh to interpret a dream, he was not just a gifted young man, he was a seasoned, wise, and trustworthy leader. The palace was not an escape from pain. It was the assignment for which his pain had prepared him. Pain also teaches you to value what you once took for granted. When you've gone without, you appreciate abundance in a way others cannot. When you've been betrayed, you treasure loyalty more deeply. When you've been silenced, you learn to speak truth with courage. This is why people who have endured the most often have the most to give. They have walked through the fire and come out not empty, but equipped. In my years of observation, I have noticed that the people who impact the world the most are rarely those who have had the easiest journeys. They are those whose pain has carved out deep wells of compassion, whose struggles have made them strong enough to carry the weight of other people's burdens. They are leaders who don't just understand success, they understand suffering, and because of that, they lead with both strength and empathy. The challenge is that in the middle of pain, preparation doesn't feel like preparation. It feels like punishment. When you are in the thick of it, you don't see the big picture. You only feel the pressure. That is why perspective is so important. If you can shift your mindset from, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me, you will transform your pain from a prison into a classroom. And the lessons you learn in that classroom will stay with you for life. Pain forces you to grow in areas you would never choose on your own. If you are naturally impatient, pain teaches you patience. If you are self-reliant, pain teaches you the dependence on God. If you are prideful, pain humbles you. If you are fearful, pain forces you to confront your fears. These are not easy lessons, but they are necessary if you want to fulfill your purpose without being destroyed by it. Even in the physical world, preparation always involves resistance. A runner prepares for a race by pushing their body beyond comfort in training. A soldier prepares for battle by enduring harsh drills. The discomfort in training is what equips them to perform under pressure. Your life is no different. The training may come in the form of heartbreak, failure, delay, or loss, but each one is building a capacity in you that will be essential in your next season. The thing about preparation is that it is often hidden. No one applauds you while you are enduring it. No one is cheering when you are in the shadows, healing from wounds, or learning lessons the hard way. But those hidden seasons are where the real work happens. When your moment comes, the strength you display will not be the result of what happened in the spotlight. It will be the result of what happened in the dark when no one was watching but God. I have also learned that pain equips you to help others in ways theory never could. You cannot truly comfort someone in grief unless you have grieved. You cannot fully understand someone's battle with discouragement unless you have fought it yourself. Your pain becomes a bridge to others, giving you a credibility that can't be faked. People can argue with your opinions, but they cannot argue with your experience. And here is something that may surprise you. Sometimes the very thing you are called to heal in others is the thing you once suffered yourself. The place of your deepest wound often becomes the place of your greatest authority. The parent who once felt abandoned becomes the one who creates a home of safety. The person who grew up in poverty becomes the one who teaches others to build wealth. The individual who battled shame becomes the voice of freedom for others. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is the soil from which your ministry, your mission, or your business may grow. But none of this happens automatically. Pain in itself does not guarantee growth. It only provides the opportunity for it. Two people can go through the same hardship. One comes out bitter, the other comes out better. The difference is not in the pain they experienced, but in how they responded to it. If you choose to see pain as a teacher, to mine it for its wisdom, and to let it shape you rather than harden you, it will prepare you for things you could never have faced without it. When you finally step into the place you were meant to be, you will realize that nothing was wasted. The tears, the sleepless nights, the unanswered questions, all of it was training. You will see that the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you. And when the challenges of that new season come, and they will, you will find yourself ready because you have been here before. You have fought battles in private that no one knows about, and those battles have made you strong. So the next time you find yourself in pain, do not be too quick to try to escape it. Ask what it is preparing you for. Because one day you will walk into a room, face a challenge, or seize an opportunity and realize, this is exactly what I was being prepared for all along. And in that moment, you will thank God for the very pain you once prayed would go away. Nothing in life grows without resistance. It is a universal law written into creation itself. A seed cannot sprout without pushing through the soil. A chick cannot strengthen its wings without breaking through the shell. A human being cannot build muscle without working against weight. Resistance is not the enemy of growth. It is the very environment in which growth becomes possible. If you remove resistance, you remove the process that produces strength, maturity, and capacity. In the gym, trainers understand that muscles only grow when they are subjected to stress. The fibers in the muscle must be challenged beyond their comfort level, creating tiny tears that the body then repairs, making the muscle stronger than before. Without that repeated cycle of stress and recovery, no growth occurs. The same principle applies to your character, your skills, your leadership, and your faith. If you are not challenged, you will not change. If there is no pushback, there is no progress. Many people pray for growth, but also pray to avoid the very conditions that make growth possible. They want patience, but avoid situations that test it. They want strength, but refuse challenges that require it. They want maturity, but reject the process that demands endurance. This is like planting a seed and hoping it will grow without ever being buried in the dirt. It simply doesn't work that way. Growth always costs something, and resistance is the price you pay. Nature itself teaches us this. Trees that grow in sheltered environments with no wind develop weak trunks and shallow roots. But trees that grow in open areas, constantly subjected to wind and storms, grow deep roots and strong, flexible trunks that can withstand far greater forces. In fact, scientists have found that without wind, a tree never fully matures. The stress of the wind causes a tree to grow something called stress wood, which gives it the strength to hold itself upright. Without that resistance, the tree grows tall but cannot stand. Life works the same way. Resistance develops your stress wood. Every obstacle you face, every delay you endure, every door that is shut in your face is adding to your capacity to stand tall when the pressure of greater responsibility comes. Without these smaller resistances now, the bigger challenges of the future would overwhelm you. That is why resistance is not punishment, it is preparation. Consider the story of David. Before he ever faced Goliath, he faced lions and bears while protecting his sheep. Those encounters were his resistance training. They built his courage, sharpened his aim, and taught him to remain calm under attack. Without those earlier challenges, he would not have been ready to face a giant. What looked like isolated moments of survival were actually a carefully designed process of preparation. Resistance also teaches you to value what you gain. When something costs you nothing, you tend to treat it lightly. But when you have fought for something, when you have endured resistance to get it, you protect it, appreciate it, and steward it well. This is why people who inherit success without ever facing struggle often lose it quickly. They never built the muscles required to carry the weight of it. In our fast-paced, convenience-driven culture, resistance is often seen as an inconvenience. We are conditioned to seek the path of least resistance, to take shortcuts to avoid the struggle. But what we fail to realize is that avoiding resistance is avoiding growth. If you always take the easy road, you rob yourself of the very development that would enable you to handle greater opportunities later on. The process of resistance also refines your focus. When you are under pressure, you learn quickly what matters and what doesn't. Resistance strips away distractions because you simply don't have the energy to waste on things that do not move you forward. It forces you to prioritize, to streamline, and to discipline yourself. And that focus is one of the greatest advantages you can gain in life. Another truth about resistance is that it reveals your level of commitment. When everything is easy, it's impossible to know if you truly believe in your mission. But when resistance shows up, when obstacles rise, when critics speak, when progress slows, it tests whether your commitment is deep enough to keep going. This is why resistance is such a powerful teacher. It exposes what is real and burns away what is shallow. Even in relationships, resistance plays a role. Healthy relationships are not defined by the absence of conflict, but by the ability to work through it. The resistance of disagreements, misunderstandings, and differing perspectives, when handled with grace and humility, deepens trust and strengthens the bond. Without those moments of friction, the relationship remains superficial and fragile. In spiritual growth, resistance is essential as well. Faith that has never been tested is unproven. Trusting God when everything is going your way does not reveal much. Trusting Him when the path is uncertain, when prayers seem unanswered, when resources are scarce. That is when faith becomes strong. Every spiritual giant you admire today has a story filled with seasons of resistance that forced them to rely on God in deeper ways. But here's something important to understand. Resistance is not the same as defeat. The fact that you are facing resistance does not mean you are failing. It means you are advancing. No one resists a threat that isn't moving forward. If you encounter no pushback in life, it may be a sign that you are not pursuing anything significant enough to be opposed. Resistance is proof that you are on a path worth walking. When you embrace resistance as part of your growth, you begin to see it differently. Instead of becoming discouraged by obstacles, you recognize them as training sessions. Instead of resenting delays, you see them as opportunities to develop patience. Instead of quitting when things get hard, you push through, knowing that every step against the wind is building your capacity to run faster when the wind shifts in your favor. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about resistance is this: it transforms you in ways you cannot measure until later. While you are in the middle of it, you may feel like you are simply surviving. But when the season changes and you look back, you will realize that you are not the same person who started the journey. you will see that your endurance has expanded, your courage has multiplied, your wisdom has deepened, and your confidence has grown. So do not fear resistance. Do not resent it. Welcome it as the necessary weight that builds your strength. Just as the athlete thanks the weights for shaping their body, thank the challenges for shaping your character. Because in the end, it is not the easy moments that make you great. It is the moments when everything in you wanted to quit, but you didn't. Those are the moments that transform potential into power and vision into reality. When you understand this truth, you stop praying for an easier life and start praying for the strength to endure the life you have. You stop wishing for fewer challenges and start embracing the resistance that is making you stronger. Because the more you grow through resistance, the more prepared you are to handle whatever comes next. And when that next season arrives, you will not be shaken. You will be ready because you have been trained by the very thing others try to avoid. No one enters this world ready for greatness. No one comes fully equipped for the battles they will face. What we call monsters in the positive sense, those people who are unstoppable, unshakable, and unafraid, are not born that way. They are shape trained and forged by life's experiences. Every scar they carry, every challenge they've overcome, every failure they've endured has contributed to the creation of the person they have become. You don't stumble into that kind of strength. You earn it through the trials that test you to your limits. The myth of being born great is dangerous because it convinces people that greatness is reserved for a chosen few. But the truth is, the people you admire, the ones who walk into a room and command respect, the ones who stand firm in storms, the ones who rise when others fall, were once ordinary. What made them extraordinary was not a birthright, but a process of enduring hardship, learning from mistakes, and refusing to be defined by their failures. Every monster was once a beginner, unsure of themselves, making mistakes, facing doubts. But what set them apart was their response to life's difficulties. Instead of breaking under pressure, they adapted. Instead of retreating from fear, they confronted it. Instead of letting failure define them, they used it as a stepping stone. Over time, these repeated choices hardened them into people who could no longer be intimidated by the same things that once terrified them. You see, monsters are not made in the spotlight. They are made in the shadows. They are made in the unseen hours when no one is cheering, when no one is watching, when the only voice telling them to keep going is their own. They are made through countless quiet decisions to get back up when quitting would have been easier. And because of this, they carry a confidence that cannot be faked because it was earned, not given. The process of becoming that kind of person is not glamorous. It is messy. It is full of seasons where you question whether it's worth it. You will face setbacks that make you wonder if you are moving backward. You will have to walk alone at times because not everyone will understand your journey. But in those lonely moments, something powerful happens. You start to rely on your own resilience. You stop waiting for others to validate you and start building yourself from the inside out. Think about the athletes who dominate their sport, the entrepreneurs who build empires, the leaders who stand unshaken in crisis. Behind every one of them is a history of struggle. The undefeated champion has tasted defeat many times in private before they ever went public. The successful entrepreneur has failed at businesses before they ever built one that worked. The unshakable leader has endured moments of doubt and fear, but learned to lead anyway. These people were not spared hardship. They were sharpened by it. Even in Scripture, the pattern is the same. Moses was not born a leader. He was made one through years of exile and preparation. David was not born a king. He was made one by fighting battles in obscurity. Esther was not born a queen. She was made one by facing the risk of death to save her people. Every story of lasting greatness is a story of someone who went through a process that transformed them. The making of a monster also involves developing a tolerance for discomfort. Ordinary people avoid discomfort. Extraordinary people embrace it. They understand that pain is temporary, but growth is permanent. They lean into the workout, the study session, the late nights, the early mornings, the difficult conversations, and the decisions that others shy away from. Over time, what used to feel unbearable becomes normal, and what others see as impossible becomes achievable. Another thing that makes these individuals different is that they learn to turn adversity into fuel. Most people see hardship as a reason to stop. Monsters see it as a reason to push harder. When the door closes, they don't just knock again, they build another door. When they are told they are not enough, they don't shrink. They grow until they are more than enough. This relentless mindset is not something they were born with. It is something they trained themselves to have. The transformation into someone unshakable is not a single event. It is a lifetime of choosing to grow rather than give up. It happens in stages. First, life challenges you with something small. You overcome it and gain confidence. Then a bigger challenge comes. You survive that too. With each victory, your belief in yourself deepens, your skill increases, and your courage expands. Eventually, you reach a point where you are no longer easily rattled because you have seen enough to know that no challenge is final unless you quit. What many people don't realize is that the making of a monster is also about mastering your emotions. It's not just physical toughness or mental sharpness, it's emotional control. You cannot lead in crisis if you panic. You cannot inspire others if you are consumed by fear. You cannot make wise decisions if you are ruled by anger or despair. Learning to stay calm under pressure is a skill developed through repeated exposure to pressure until what once shook you no longer moves you. And perhaps the most important thing about these people is that they don't see themselves as victims of life, even when life has been unfair. They acknowledge the pain, but they refuse to let it be the final chapter. They take responsibility for their future, even when their past was out of their control. That shift from victim to victor is the turning point in the making of a monster. By the time the world sees them, they are often unrecognizable from who they used to be. People might say, "You've changed," but they don't understand the process that made the change necessary. They don't see the nights of doubt, the seasons of scarcity, the moments of fear that were faced alone. All they see is the finished product, the strong, confident, relentless individual who now stands before them. The truth is, anyone can become this kind of person. It is not a gift reserved for the lucky. It is a result reserved for the committed. The process will not be easy, and it will not be quick, but it will be worth it, because once you have gone through enough to be made into someone who can no longer be easily broken, you carry that strength into every area of your life, your work, your relationships, your faith, your purpose. And here is the most inspiring part: the process never stops. Even the strongest among us are still being made. Every new season brings new challenges, and every challenge adds another layer of strength, wisdom, and resilience. The monster is not a final version. It is a person who has committed to constant growth, no matter how hard it gets. So if you feel like life is breaking you right now, understand this: it is not breaking you, it is making you. Every setback, every obstacle, every painful moment is shaping you into someone stronger than you were yesterday. And one day, you will stand in a place where the very things that once threatened to destroy you will be the same things that gave you the power to rise. That is how monsters are made. Hard times are not an interruption in your life. They are an essential part of your life's design. Every challenge you have faced has been a tool in the hands of a master craftsman, shaping, refining, and preparing you for what's ahead. Adversity has been your trainer, pressure has been your teacher, and pain has been your preparation. You are not here by accident. Everything you have survived was meant to build you into someone this world could not ignore. The furnace of pressure has burned away what was weak, the storms have revealed what was real, and the resistance has given you strength you didn't know you had. You are proof that monsters are not born, they are made. And if you have endured this far, it is because you are being prepared for a future far greater than your past. So do not despise your trials. Do not curse the season you are in. One day, you will look back and realize that the very things that tried to break you were the things that built you. And when that day comes, you will stand unshaken, unafraid, and unstoppable, ready to take your place, ready to fulfill your purpose, and ready to show the world what God can do with a life that refused to quit. Hard times don't just build survivors, they build champions, they build leaders, they build monsters, and you, my friend, are becoming one of them.